James Comey, Robert Mueller, were they colluding? That's a key question. Now, if you've been watching our Facebook Live videos or these updates each week, you know that I have grave concerns about the Mueller operation, both its constitutionality, its out-of-control nature, and the fact it's been compromised by ethical conflicts and misdeeds by the Mueller team, including maybe Mr. Mueller himself. And one of those key issues is Mr. James Comey's testimony to the Senate last year. You may recall he testified to the Senate Intelligence Committee, and that was where he laid into Donald Trump, essentially called him a liar, disclosed that he leaked a memo through his friend to the New York Times in order to get a special counsel appointed. Just a quite a performance in terms of a former FBI director, and I don't mean that in a positive way. But reports were that he ran the testimony by the Justice Department and specifically Robert Mueller. And it was, quote, closely coordinated. Closely coordinated. According to Fox News, I think the quote is, yeah, closely coordinated. So Mueller closely coordinated with Comey in his anti-Trump testimony. If Comey and Mueller colluded on this testimony, or as I say, none dare call it conspiracy, that would be a scandal. And we've asked for records about whether or not the Justice Department did coordinate with Comey on this testimony. Again, this anti-Trump testimony, where he disclosed, he talked about the memos he was writing and all sorts of other things. And certainly if Mueller was using Comey through this testimony to get at Trump, boy, that would be a scandal. And I just can't believe that the Justice Department, once again, isn't giving us any documents, because we've asked for the records. So when you don't give us documents if you're a federal agency and it's an important issue and we have the capacity, we go to court and sue. And that's what we did this week. We sued in federal court to find out whether Mueller and Comey, or the Justice Department generally, was colluding in this anti-Trump effort. Isn't it remarkable that it's Judicial Watch doing this? The Congress isn't asking these questions. This testimony was last year. It was last year. We asked for these records back in August. So it's been months and we still haven't gotten the records. He testified he wrote one of 9 memos. He wrote 9 memos, one of which he used a cutout, a friend, to leak to the New York Times in the hopes of getting a special counsel appointed to target President Trump with a criminal investigation. And his testimony was, I asked a friend of mine to share the content of the memo with a reporter, and I put for the New York Times. I asked him to because I thought that might prompt the appointment of a special counsel. And what was the memo about? It was about a conversation he allegedly had with President Trump, where President Trump allegedly told him that if he could see fit, that he should do something to give General Flynn a break. Of course, General Flynn, who is former national security advisor, who is under investigation by, evidently, the FBI. Now, Comey in his testimony suggested, well, these were just personal records. No one bought that. We didn't buy it. So Judicial Watch has asked for these memos. Well, we asked specifically for the Flynn memo. We're thinking, if you can leak it to the New York Times, why can't the American people see it? Let's see what is actually in this memo. But of course, the Justice Department is protecting Comey, unfortunately. The Daily Caller News Foundation, who we're representing, they've asked for all the memos too. CNN, believe it or not, is asking for the memos, and they're not getting anything. None of us are, so we're suing in federal court. Now, what's remarkable is the Justice Department has come back and said that Comey's testimony, or certainly the leak of the Flynn memo, was unauthorized. And they compared it to the WikiLeaks leak. You heard that right. They compared it to the WikiLeaks leak. So now we have but they said if we were to release any of these memos, they won't tell us how many memos there are. But they don't want to release any of it because they were compiled for law enforcement purposes, which we think is baloney. And secondly, it might interfere with the Russia investigation. Well, hold on a second. So now Mueller's witness is being protected, even though he committed misconduct, according to the Justice Department, in releasing this memo? You know, and this is where you get this fundamental dishonesty by our agencies, where the Justice Department suggests the former FBI director committed a crime in releasing and leaking this memo, which is probably correct. Doesn't mean it can't be public otherwise. But they say they haven't demonstrated any interest in holding him accountable. So they want to have a cake and eat it too. So they accuse him of committing a crime. Now, WikiLeaks, by the way, allegedly got, remember the thinking is they were in league with the Russians. So this is what Mueller's witness is being compared to, Mr. Comey. Because remember, they're investigating, reportedly, the firing of Comey. Now we have Justice Department confirmation that Comey was wrong to have leaked the memo. Yet they were settling a score, at least Comey was settling a score with the president in this illicit leak. And I don't understand how the Justice Department can continue to defend him by keeping these memos secret. And I know that Robert Mueller probably thinks Comey is a big witness of his and he wants to protect him, but that can't be the basis for keeping secret these records, which would document public corruption. There's a new report out by Fox News that the lawyer, the Russian lawyer who you all heard about, who met with Donald Trump Jr., had met with this Fusion GPS representative just before the meeting and then shortly thereafter, during the same week that Fusion GPS was being paid by the Clintons, the campaign and the DNC. Which we now know, thanks to Donna Brazile, there was no distinction between the Clinton campaign and the DNC. So that looks like that was a setup. Now, this Fusion GPS, they're the one who created the dossier. So you've got this collusion between Comey and Mueller. There's no doubt it happened. That's why they don't want to give us the documents. You've got this illegal leak by Comey. And now we have this dossier and this scam of a operation, really, to try to get Trump back then. Because I don't know how you conclude that either that meeting was either a setup, given the links to the Clinton operation. Again, this Clinton-funded group was working with the Russians while this Russian was meeting with Donald Trump Jr. And then this group later said that the Russians were colluding with the Trump people. How does that work? So between the dossier, Comey's leaks, the collusion, and the illegal secrecy, because we think the secrecy is illegal about everything, because we're not getting any information. We're not getting any of the Comey memos. We're not getting the dossier information. They won't even confirm or deny the dossier information exists. You know about it, but the FBI and Justice Department's pretending they can't confirm or deny it exists. And as I said earlier, all of this shows why the dossier especially, which to me is key to unraveling the whole anti-Trump Obama spying, leaking, and targeting, and is a scandal that would probably dwarf anything that's happened in modern American history, is going to blow up the Mueller investigation. As far as I'm concerned, the Mueller investigation should be shut down just based on the dossier scandal alone.